Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa CBD. Now, in our first story, 2 people have died while 4 others are battling for their lives after some protesting youth of Ejura sustained gunshot injuries from the military and police on Tuesday. It follows protests sparked by the death of 45-year-old Ibrahim Mohammed, aka Kaka, said to be a member of the hashtag Fix the Country movement in town. Now, the youth had stormed the police station Tuesday morning to inquire about the extent of investigations regarding the murder of their colleague, stressing that they want the police to leave no stone unturned in bringing the perpetrators to book. The deceased, who is said to be critical of government, was allegedly attacked Saturday dawn. He was said to have been repeatedly struck in the head with objects until he lost consciousness and died at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital Monday. Erastus Asari Donko was in Ejura for JoyNews, and here's his report.
Charlie, we have to take cover. Come. So one person has been shot, and you can see him in your shot there. One person has been shot, and the military contingent and the police are in here firing shots.
Medical Superintendent of Ejura Government Hospital, Dr. Mensa Maya, confirmed these deaths yesterday.
Confirm the 2 dead?
Yeah, we've confirmed already. One was brought in dead. The other one died within 10 minutes after arrival, after active resuscitation. Because where the bullet hit was so much, hit the chest directly. And there is bleeding into the chest. That is hemothorax.
Are they injured? Can you tell us about the injuries?
Yeah, the injuries were so he had a femur fracture, multiple femur fracture. What I mean, femur, that the thigh, the right thigh got fractured. In addition to maybe the lower tibia and fibula, that the right legs, they all got fractured. You can see a lot of swelling there. That is a lot of hematoma collection, losing a lot of blood, sweating profusely. You're also entering into shock. But we are actively managing. With blood transfusion, we hope it should be, stable.
Now, MP for Ijora, Brahima Mohammed, has described as falsehood claims by the police that the youth of the area charged on the security agencies during the protest. Now, the Ashanti Regional Police in a statement said the youth blocked roads and subsequently charged on the security operatives with machetes, stones, clubs and firearms. But Mr. Brahima says the claim is an afterthought and an attempt by the police to cover up their misconduct. He says the military personnel deliberately wanted to kill his constituents.
It only means you can use to disperse them. What are the water cannons doing that we use our taxpayers' money to buy? What are they doing? We have, as professional policemen and military men, we have been trained to handle riots and how to control riots. From my information, I'm not in the job, but from my information, they were only burning lorry ties and nobody harmed anybody.
They say that he's actually charged on them. The police say that he's charged on them.
This is only an afterthought, and they are only trying to me, they acted unprofessionally, and they must accept that. The information I have is that the soldiers deliberately, I have a picture here of a soldier firing into the crowd. He deliberately, if you are going to fire to disperse the crowd, you will fire into the air. Look at the soldier. Look at his position. I want your camera to capture it very well. Look at his position. He just squatted. He squatted and aimed into the crowd and fired not only one bullet. He fired several rounds of ammunition. That is how come 2 people died and about 4 people are lying in the hospital right now.
So he says that the police...
They acted unprofessionally. That statement is a false... they should agree that they acted unprofessionally, and next time they should, if they are going to... so, my brothers and sisters of the Inky fraternity, do you believe this story?
Away from that, National Security Minister Albert Kandapar has revealed that a total of 32 politically motivated violence were recorded in 5 constituencies during the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. Now, according to him, one of the emerging security threats to the stability and unity of the country is localized electoral violence, which he says, if not addressed, could reverse democratic gains achieved over the years. Speaking at the opening ceremony of a 3-day national stakeholders dialogue on the theme, countering post-2020 election violence and building consensus for greater political tolerance, Mr. Kandapar charged political actors to work in harmony in creating a secured environment for all.
Political intolerance contributes to insecurity. As a country, we must tackle this. We must seek better and improved ways to build national and social cohesion. We must establish mutual trust between the government and the citizens. We must build a national purpose of peaceful coexistence and security. And I believe the government of the day will be challenged in achieving this level of collaboration without the support and without the involvement of the population. Government must cooperate and partner with independent constitutional and statutory bodies, with civil society organizations, above all with political parties, with women and youth groups, with traditional authorities and faith-based organizations. This, we believe, should be the approach for achieving a national agenda that enhances national consciousness and also safeguards national unity and cohesion. And this will then contribute to enhance the peace and the security of the country.
The Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, on his part, observed that government has asked the Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service to expedite its investigations into the electoral violence, insisting government would not relent in its effort in prosecuting persons involved in the act.
Election-related violent incidents which have resulted variously in the loss of lives and the destruction of property in general elections, as well as by-elections in the country. In the 2020 elections, a total of 32 violent incidents were recorded by the Ghana Police Service in 5 constituencies. Ghana, we are not impressed by the fact that these incidents took place in 5 constituencies out of 275. We consider 5 constituencies, 5 contingencies too many, and we consider a loss of one life too many, and the injury of persons, any person, one too many. These incidents, unfortunately, resulted in the loss of life, 6 Ghanaians. These regrettable deaths should not happen in our country at this stage of our democracy. The government would not relent in efforts to get those found culpable and prosecuted.
Away from that, authorities at the Gambaga witch camp in the northeast region are appealing for immediate assistance to cater for the inmates following a shortage of food and other basic supplies in the camp. The authorities say the lack of food at the camp is increasing the plight of the old women as they have been left to fend for themselves. The camp coordinator, Samson La, who spoke to JoyNews, said the situation has compelled majority of the women to engage in hard labor, working long hours on farm fields in exchange for a few grains or cooked food. The coordinator also highlighted the adverse impact of the coronavirus pandemic at the camp and called for increased public education and sensitization on the virus.
The coordinator, Samson Lard, made the appeal while receiving a donation from the Assemblies of God Women's Ministries, which is celebrating its 80th anniversary.
Opportunity to thank the women, that is Assemblies of God Ministry, Women Wing, that they have done well. In fact, we really have no food now. This is our lean season, especially this June, July, because by then no new food is out. So last week that we finished our maize. So we are happy that God has been good to us, and then they came with something to support us. But it's very poor, especially food. It has been very, very poor for us.
How severe?
Yeah, it's very severe because I told you I said that last week that we finished the last mix that we got for them. And you know, you will need about 20 bags to share them. So what I did was that I had to just choose those who are very weak and cannot go anywhere. That was what I did. So I chose them out and I supplied them with the rest of the 5 bags of maize. And that was all, because they could not get to everybody. And looking at their ages too, but they still go to work to bring something home. They go to people's farms to work for food. Yeah, they go there to work, and at the end of the day, as I was saying, some don't even pay them as required. But what can they do? They need to survive.
The coordinator also expressed concern with what he said was a rise in witchcraft accusations against vulnerable individuals because of the coronavirus outbreak, and advising people who believe in witchcraft to stop seeing the virus through a spiritual lens.
There is one thing I want to say too. That is COVID-19 against witchcraft. I think it's dangerous, because if someone to die of COVID at the village community, they don't know. And you know, mysterious deaths are those that they accuse them of. So you just see that someone, for example, this year, we've received 11 new ones already. It's dangerous because, well, since I came around almost 4 years now, we have not received up to 11 from January to June. And I was saying that this year we have gotten the most serious brutalities that we have got. It's so bad. They beat anybody they accuse, they beat the person seriously.
The Assemblies of God Women's Ministry has been in preparations to climax its 80th anniversary celebration sometime later in November. And as part of preparations, the ministries led by 8 regional executives made a donation of food items and clothing to the alleged witches at the camp in Gambaga.
We saw that food.
Presenting the donation, the Women's Ministries Director for the Upper East Region, Gifty Sandu, assured the image the church will continue to provide support to better the conditions of the needed and vulnerable groups.
Our 80th anniversary, and it will be in Tamale. It will be in Tamale for the 4 or 5 regions. 4 or 5 regions will be in Tamale. That will be in November. But we want to start with this by showing our widow's mind to the needy. And that is why we have done it. We feel very bad. And even we were saying that if it will be possible, like when you come and you are delivered, they should let you go back to your family. But here's the case, the coordinator is saying that the moment you are even delivered, the community will say they don't want you again. So it means that the chief of this place will now accept them as his family members. So we, the Assemblies of God Women, will also go and think about it and see how we will help them.
On her part, the Women's Ministries Director for the Northeast Region, Memuna Tusando, also assured that the church will intensify campaigns to ensure the imams regain their freedom and dignity.
And let our people know that they are all women. They are not witches. We standing here tomorrow will also be old ladies. So if we don't fight for these old ladies, then one day it will also come to us. So we will advocate for them. And we will let our people know that what they are doing is not good.
Elias Sutanko reporting.
Before I leave, about 90% of waste generated in Accra ends up in landfill sites without appropriate recycling. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has therefore engaged key stakeholders to help reduce the amount of waste dumped at landfill sites without any recycling plan. The Assembly looks forward to half landfill site waste by 2030. This, they believe, will expedite the Assembly's climate action plan and also help realize the goal of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa. JoyNews' Isaac Kofi has more in the following reports.
Accra, on the average, generates a little over 2 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent of greenhouse gas every year. The city's emission is expected to double in the next 10 years if not addressed, and may escalate to over 10 million tons in 20 years. A little over a year ago, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly launched its first climate action plan. Speaking at the Assembly's recent stakeholder engagement, the Mayor, Mohammed Ejeisoa, stressed on the need to engage the informal sector and households to help realize the vision of having waste dumped at landfill site by 2030.
In order for us to achieve our goals that we have set for ourselves in climate change, there's a need for us to include the vulnerable and the informal sector, because 80% of our workforce are in the informal sector, and 90% of new jobs that are created comes from the informal sector. Clearly, you cannot develop a city without the informal sector. And for us, we have mainstreamed the informal sector activities into our general program that we have, so that we'll be able to achieve any goal that we have set for ourselves. Hence this meeting today, where we have brought the fisher folk, the market women, the hawkers, the traders, and all kinds of people who are operating in the informal sector, including people from academia who are speciality in the informal sector and also in the private sector as well, so that we walk them through our climate action plan, the activities that we are doing, the recognition of them in the pursuit of our climate action plan towards the achievement of the goals that we have set for ourselves. And it's very important that we do so. And in doing so, again, we realize that Accra, we've set ourselves to make the city clean. And in our quest to make the city clean, it is not just collecting the rubbish and go and dump it, but a 46% of our greenhouse gas emission source come from waste management. Then how do we manage your waste so that you don't also contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions that we are seeing?
Currently, over 90% of waste generated in Accra are dumped at various landfill sites, and majority of the waste find their way into our drains, causing a lot of havoc during the rainy season. The mayor says major infrastructural developments saved certain flood-prone areas in the city during the recent heavy downpour.
Central government, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had also prioritized the reconstruction of storm drains in Accra. So major areas that also get flooded, today you cannot see flooding happen over there. For instance, if you get to the Robechebi Lante roundabout, which used to be a natural flooding area, by the construction of the major storm drain over there, you don't see flooding over there. And they are happy because either to the companies around that enclave, since 2015, the major disaster that happened, they had warned that they even want to relocate, and insurance companies were refusing to insure their properties there. So that was a major concern. Today, a relief has been provided to them.
Isaac Kofi reporting for Joy News.
And that's how we end the AM News. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Mapisa CBD. The AM show continues, so stick and stay.
The spirit's a bit dampened on account of, it's not pleasant news to greet you on another morning. And for me, Mama V, even as I say good morning, I'm heartbroken, honestly. I'm heartbroken.
I am disappointed. And it's just my disappointment that's just led to me not knowing what to say, essentially. And it's been like this since yesterday. Like, lost for words.
Mekofiabo, and we can all, our Constitution guarantees it. If you feel certain things are not going well, we all have the right to express our opinion. But can dissenting opinion be shared anymore? It's just sad. And for this many people to lose their lives for what happened to Kaka. We've seen supposedly the threats he was getting, some messages and all of that. And then for what happened to him to have happened, and on the back of that, for people in Nigeria to have hit the streets, and for what ensued to have ensued, and the military to come in, and the shooting of live bullets, and whatever else, took place. For me,
disappointing.
Sometimes you must speak the local language for the understanding to come. It is just, and I think, I'll just say this, we ought to be really careful, I feel, because young people, yes, throwing stones and maybe sticks and all of that, but there is something called proportionate response. Did we respond proportionately? Mamavi?
But
apart
from responding proportionally, there's also the kind of response that we got from the young people that was expected, unless any intelligence person would say that no, they were not expecting that.
You remember the one in, was it Asawase, when those 7 youth were killed? Similar. And we went through processes, and there was even some, compensation or something? I don't know whether eventually they got it. But at least you realize that there was anger. And it was dealt with in a certain way. How come this wasn't dealt with in that way?
You need to allow the people, because you see, once they keep it in them, then it's going to explode in a way that you may not be able to control. So for me, I felt, they should have expected what happened yesterday, and so they should have thought ahead how to handle it. Let the people express themselves, because they're very angry at what happened to their neighbor, their friend, their family member. But if this is going to be it, you give people ideas because they know that there's going to be a force that will come at them and they would get ready for you.
Yeah.
Even if they can't meet you, you used proportionate, force. Even if their force can't be the same as yours, you let them, be thinking about something. And I think it was so wrong on all angles to think that this had happened, and on the back of this, on a day when they were burying the person who was beating in the way that he was, that led to his death.
It's like rubbing salt in your wounds.
It is painful. It is painful even if you don't come from a Jura, if you don't live there, if you don't have any relatives there. It is just painful, really. And it's sad that we're here. And a lot of people, you see, when you talk to people, people also feel that, oh, again, nothing will happen. See?
And you see, that is even worse. Because when you make people feel helpless, as though the system will not work for me, it will always work against me, then we have a major problem on our hands.
Absolutely.
You see, this thing we call government, it's all about entrusting our powers to certain people. Because not all of us can rule. We can't follow the ancient, Greek system. We cede our powers to a group of people to do things in our interest. When those people fail to do things in our interest, when we begin to feel we are helpless, whatever we do, what we want, the people will never do, that is a chaotic, situation right there. It's a recipe for disaster. Some of us, we are not, troublemongers. No, we're just saying that this is the situation. And especially when you have a lot of youth from time to time pouring out on the streets and expressing their, displeasure at things, and this is the response. God help us.
We'll get into the newspapers, just so they know that you can't use force to shut the people up. You will be worsening the situation. But we're very grateful to our colleague Erastus Asari Donko, our camera technician. I'm not sure who he went with, but we had a great team that gave us the visuals that are out there, because without them, really, we would be talking about the people telling their story without any visuals to go with. And we'll be hearing various angles. But now we see the visuals ourselves, and we can make our own conclusions.
I mean, people would have concocted so many things and we wouldn't have had the benefit of but we have the visuals.
Absolutely.
Erastus was there, risking his neck together with the rest of the crew to get us those
So
visuals.
thanks to our team, with our Love FM team that made this happen, that told the Ijura story as it happened on the ground for us yesterday in great detail. Without you, without what you put out, without what you sent to us, this story would not have been complete. So let's do the newspapers now. Ijura is definitely featuring in the newspapers. And I've got the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Dispatch, Republic Press, and the Finder newspaper, Ben.
I have the Daily Graphic, Daily Guide, Herald, Daily Statesman, Ghanaian Publisher, and a few other papers. All
right, let's start with the Ghanaian Times. And of course, Ijura is on the front page, 2 killed, 4 injured, following murder of the Fix the Country activist. Can you imagine just the headline alone? 2 killed, 4 injured, following murder of Fix the Country activists. It just tells the story. What a shame. Yeah. Also on the front page, Pantine Hospital closed down after demo by nurses and doctors. The entrance of the Pantine Hospital is a shot on the front page of the paper. Again, Manuel Cranting has been telling the story 2 days in a row, the day before the final closure, because if there's nobody there to work. And what have they been asking for? Just protect the land so that we will feel protected. Yeah. And they've been singing this tune,
It's been so long, because I started hearing of these things, we were saying, be today.
Yeah.
But something I've discovered about our country? The simplest things are so difficult. The simplest things are so difficult.
Absolutely, because there are many people that have failed us. And so it's not just black and white, they will tell you. People have sold some of the lands, and people have documents. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, also on the front page, Ketsu salt ravaging sea causes more havoc. And this is after the visit. I knew this was going to happen because it's been raining. And without proper protection, again, a sea defense, that's what is needed in these areas. So there's a picture of Agaveji, where we visited, I think, two or three weeks ago with the Works and Housing Minister, where he disclosed that there were conversations. So thing is, they intend fixing the problem there, which is continue phase 2 of a sea defense war. However, they're looking for the money, and they want it to be government of Ghana funded. So finance minister has not disclosed yet if the money is ready or not. So as soon as it is.
We don't know when the sum of money will be ready and when any work can commence.
Exactly.
To protect, these lands and the people.
Because as I understand it, you cannot give out a contract now without the approval of the finance ministry. There has to be money allocated for it before the contract is awarded. That hasn't happened. The minister, though, because he also acknowledged that the thing was getting worse, he said that he was hopeful that before the year ends, work would have started. But again, the money hasn't come yet. So that's where we are. And the people, you see, it's at the center of everything is the people that are suffering, is the community that is being consumed. There's also another story. Kwesi Nyantakyi charged, granted 1 million Ghana cedis bail. If you go to page 3, a 7-member panel of judges of the Supreme Court, presided over Justice Jones Doche, has unanimously dismissed a review application filed by the Sekondi Traditional Council. This is in relation to a chieftaincy dispute which has been raging for the past years at Fijai in the Western region with regard to the installation of the proper or rightful person to ascend the stool. If you've been following the story, well, you can get the rest of the updates in there. South African ex-President Zuma sentenced to jail. That's on page 5 in the paper. Parliament is committed to passing bill against LGBTQI, according to the Speaker. And I'm picking these headlines from the inside pages of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Just a little bit of the Kwesi Nyantakyi story on page 18. It says that the former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, was yesterday granted a 1 million Ghana cedis bail by an Accra High Court for his alleged involvement in the Anas investigative alleged corruption video titled Number 12. Mr. Nyantakyi and the former Northern Regional representative of the GFA, Abdullah Hassan, have been charged with fraud, corruption, and conspiracy to commit crime. They both pleaded not guilty to the charges before the court, presided over by Justice El Afrida Denchi. The court further ordered them to produce 3 sureties as part of the bail condition. On the back page is the Ketu South story. That's right there. Former Ethiopian Prime Minister applauds Ghana for progress in agric development. Is also another story on the back page of the paper, Ben.
Let's check out some details from the Daily Graphic now. Speaker signals law against LGBTQI+. And yesterday I watched him share his thoughts on the matter without mincing words, saying that he speaks for the people of Ghana and that we're going to adopt the right stance, according to him, as far as LGBTQI is concerned. Auditor General cites technical universities for irregularities. 447 million Ghana cedis lost in 5 years. Toyota Suzuki set up plant, first Hilux pickup out. And just to touch briefly on that, the government's industrialization drive, including making the country the automotive hub in West Africa, took a major leap yesterday when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo commissioned another vehicle assembling point for Toyota and Suzuki vehicles within the Tema-Free Zones enclave. The vehicle assembling drive, anchored on the new development policy, has already guided the establishment of plants. And of course, we have that first car. President Akufo-Addo, commissioning yesterday, also unveiled the first Toyota Hilux pickup truck, which was assembled at the plant by young Ghanaian engineers with the supervision of Japanese engineers. Let's also progress to the point where we can do our own thing as Ghanaian engineers doing their own thing without any foreigner, so to speak. I'm using my words carefully, but homegrown stuff from way back when till today. Mazin and Asifwenina are there. Kantanka is there. When will we ever get to that point? But this is a stepping stone and a laudable one as well. Jacob Zuma jailed 15 months That's in South Africa. A constitutional court has sentenced former President Zuma to 15 months in jail for contempt of court following his failure to appear at a corruption inquiry earlier this year. That's on page 5. And some have said that this sends a clear signal that there's not going to be any tolerance for corruption. There's also on page 9, Israeli minister's landmark visit to UAE, that is the United Arab Emirates, signals deepening ties. He is the first Israeli MP, I'm talking about Yair Lapid, the first in about 8-9 months to have paid a visit to that state. It was another landmark situation, and he is the first to pay an official visit to the Gulf city since Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain signed a historic deal to normalize ties 9 months ago. Now, on to some other stories that I'd like to highlight, and should time suffice, we'll get into that. Ejura youth clash with security personnel, 2 dead. Pictured there, Mutala Muhammad, 25, and then Abdul Nasser Yusuf, 26. That young, their lives have been snuffed out. They don't need to be your direct relations for you to feel, their pain and the temperature in the country. President lauds media for vibrancy. I'll just, Mama Viso, yesterday I got some bits about this and all of that. President lauds media for vibrancy. He says, I am not interested in buying the Ghanaian press. I am interested in having a press that can serve the larger society and play its role in building a strong, democratic Ghana. Very laudable, Mr. President, but in other sectors as well, people are being gagged, even in the media. Sometimes you do this and you get messages, you get threats, this and that. That ought to be dealt with as well. And when ordinary citizens pour their hearts out about happenings in the country, well, that is also part of it. Yeah. It's not just the fourth estate. The people also have the right to speak. On the back page, government awards 115 contracts for drains, culverts. Traders begin to relocate from Agbo Bulushi. And of course, we've been talking about Henry Quartey and his moves in that regard when it comes to the onion sellers. That's it with the Daily Graphic.
Let's continue with Republic Press. On the front page, bullets fly in Ejura as trigger-happy soldiers open fire on residents. Government reform in education to produce critical 21st century thinkers, according to the Vice President. LGBTQI worse than COVID-19, according to Speaker. Number 12, Nyantechi, I beg your pardon, charged with fraud, granted $1 million Ghana cedis bail. And this story, I want to read a little bit of it on page 3, and the headline is on the front page, so you can stay there. Ben.
I'm following. Let's do this.
The words he used were an insult to me. He earlier said, I'm incompetent. You are foolish. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm a member of parliament. My lord, he's disrespecting me. Have you campaigned before?
Oh, that one.
I should have
the
said
courtroom
this
banter.
Is a court, and this happened in the courtroom. But
live and colored.
Who else
in fact,
would
it is
say
in the
these
Daily
words?
Graphic as well.
That's Kennedy Ejapong. He was in court yesterday on the issue of a defamation suit brought against him by Anas Areme or Nas. So he was in court yesterday and during cross-examination in the 25 million Ghana cedis suit. Okay, so the lawyer for Anas, questioned the competency of Kennedy Ejapong in authenticating a video he obtained from a certain newspaper of one of the bases for his quote-unquote, who watches the watchman. But then the lawyer's words, so according to Ken, the lawyer insulted him. He felt insulted because of a certain word that the lawyer used. And what I quoted was his response. And the judge, I can imagine the judge sitting in the courtroom and witnessing this. So in a quick response, Sami Dako, one of the lawyers of Anas, rose to his feet and said, if the witness disrespects the bar, he's disrespecting the court. According to him, the action and the conduct of the witness is respectful to the court. The court, presided over by Justice Eric Barr, intervened and said lawyers and witnesses address the court and not lawyers of the parties. If there's any foul language used, it goes against the dignity of the court. So the court said, finally, Ben, I agree that the unprinted words used by the defendants are not acceptable, and I called on him to withdraw his words. Okay, so, Charlie, there's a lot to this drama that you can read by yourself in the paper. Also, Fix the Country, demo in limbo as Interior Minister says it could spread COVID-19. Hey, Raddy.
Nowhere cool.
On the back, but the Pantai Hospital staff went on a protest march, didn't they? On the back page, you can't, Charlie, let them do it. If they had done it, like how long ago?
Look, it can be said in when water boils, it gets to boiling point. Unless if you keep it on the fire, at some point the water itself will dry up. If you don't, if you turn off the fire at a point, it will cool down. I simply, for the life of me, cannot get why we cannot tolerate, young people saying, and you see,
we've just
it's a slap in the face. It's a hypocritical slap in the face. And I'm saying it because on the one hand, we're doing things that it could be super spreaders as well when it comes to COVID-19. Those ones can go because it's from officialdom. Yet young people want to do certain things. I'm not saying open the floodgates and let them do it, but allow them to vent so that they can cool down. And we simply can't do that.
I want to say something, Ben. I mean, who even said that it's every young person in the country that would have hit the street if they had done this demo 2 months ago?
What was the fear?
Now you're making a lot more people want to join just because of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's what you're doing. That's what, exactly. I mean, not everybody is a fix the country campaigner.
No.
Some people believe in the cause, but they will not be on the streets.
You know something? I'll tell you. Nowadays, of course, as a journalist, you're very curious, and sometimes maybe you go and you're doing something, mobile money transaction. You listen to what the people are saying, the young people. You're at a fuel station. You listen to the comments. They are not good. And I don't think it's positive for our governance system and everything. We ought to do something because I think we've got the tipping point. We're sitting on a time bomb.
Absolutely. Just the last story on the back page of Republic Press. A final year student of the Suhum Presbyterian Senior High School in the Eastern Region has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for threatening to kill a teacher in the school. So the student recorded a video of himself brandishing a cutlass and threatened to cut off the head of the teacher for punishing him for misconduct. Teacher lodged a formal complaint at the Suhum police station, after which the student was arrested while in class learning. Says you're right. We saw those 3 guys with a gun. Now I didn't see this video of this students with a cutlass. But parents, you have a responsibility to teach your children the right thing. The fact that there's freedom of speech does not mean that you can go threatening people. See, you're in secondary school. Now you have 2 years in prison. I'm not going to cry for you. You brought this upon yourself.
Well, there's also a problem with, and it's something you've touched on, proper parenting. And if you don't do the right thing, someday your children will get into a very tight corner, a very tight spot. And that will not be society's doing. Let's check out the Daily Guide newspaper now. Violence in Ejura over murder, bullion van attack, how robbers tracked cop, and too much political intolerance. Kandapa. You know what? I'll intentionally focus on the Kandapa bit briefly in respect of what is happening now in Ejura, and you tell me what you think. But before that, so there's some sort of analysis of what happened in Adedenko in Jamestown, near Jamestown, and when the robbery happened. It gives details about it, and it talks about 6, people on 3 motorbikes, how they succeeded then in killing Constable Emmanuel Osei. About 2 weeks into the incident, we know of that Guinean armed robber who is suspected to have killed the policeman, another Guinean. That suspect was identified as Musa Kamara, 26. He was arrested together with 3 other hardened criminals in a joint police operation. And we know that the 3 other suspects at Chibi were also arrested at Chibi Zongo on Saturday and were identified as Collins Adai, a.k.a. Keche, Ebenezer Jima, a.k.a. Peace. Can you imagine that? His nickname is Peace. and another Guinean, Suleiman Keita, alias 69, a brother of Musa Kamara. And they've apparently been terrorizing residents of Chebi Achemtafo, Osiem, Enyinesin, and its environs. But let me get to this one. Too much political intolerance. That's our National Security Minister, Kandapa, saying that. And Mama V, he has expressed worry over what he has termed political intolerance, which is gradually gaining ground in the country. He has therefore called on Ghanaians to tolerate each other, irrespective of our political differences. He says it's a canker which, if not addressed, could plunge the country in chaos in future. I just want to end there. What he is saying and what we are seeing, I agree with him. I actually agree. But do we have the political tolerance? Are those in leadership? I mean, are we being tolerant of dissenting opinion? Are we tolerating one another? And I agree. It could plunge the country into chaos in future if we are not careful. No one wants chaos. Let no one think that maybe someone... What would we get from that? Because it will affect all of us. It brings to mind Stonebwoy's song. What's the... Where We Go Go? What's the title of that track?
Where we gonna run go?
Where we gonna run go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are we going to run to? It's sad. It's so sad. And when some of us talk, some people may think, oh, it's overkill. You are talking and you are talking. Sometimes I share that I have survived war.
It's better to talk, man. It's better. It's
and
better
you don't want to see war.
People voice it out than to keep it in there, because you never know the form that it's going to come out, because it's going to come out sometime anyway. Yeah.
It is what it is. On the entertainment, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
On the entertainment page, Peter Dochi blasts Nigerian women over plastic surgery. Pete, he never keeps quiet. He's always saying something popular or unpopular that will, get tongues wagging. On the back page, Kotoko dragged USM Alger to FIFA, and Palace set for Vieira capture. Patrick Vieira, former player for the French national team and for Arsenal as well. And then no one is angry with Mbappe, and talk there that he'll bounce back. Of course, France was eliminated painfully by Switzerland. No one would say pain.
And to say that he missed the penalty. Like anybody could miss the penalty, but not him. But how could Germany allow England score them yesterday? Like,
no, it was anybody's game. And the Germans. Did you see that opportunity by that Thomas Müller had?
No.
It was so. When it went wide, I was like, okay. And
I was listening to the commentary on Joy FM, and I thought, when first half no goal, I was like, is this the German team?
No, but Germany wasn't going to have it that easy against England. England has a very good side.
Me, I thought
the likes of Rice, the likes of Sterling, Kane, Pickford. No, they have a good team.
Maybe it's the English kind of headlines when they win such matches that I hate. That's why I probably don't like the team. And Ukraine,
yeah, Ukraine also beats Sweden.
I'm actually disappointed that England is going to go very far. It might even end up in the finals.
Well, they're in the quarters now.
That's my disappointment.
I think it's England facing off with Ukraine.
Yes,
I think England facing off with Ukraine.
Yeah. That's going to be pretty.
But another very crucial, one I should say, not very crucial. Another very interesting one to look forward to is Belgium, Italy.
Oh yeah.
Belgium is world number one, and Italy's form. I mean, that match, I think whoever wins that match could go to the finals.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, we have to make way for Muftal to continue. Highlights of the matches that you missed yesterday. There's also Wimbledon, and Serena is out with an injury. That's a big blow
Charlie,
to me.
Heartbreak after that last one. No, Charlie, it seems to be eluding her like forever.
Yeah, but there's a little hope because Federer is in it. Good morning to Ahmed Awal Karyama, my very good friend. You always watch the show. I hope you're well. Stay with us. We've got sports coming your way, after which Benjamin will be talking heavily Ejura and the security matters, all angles of that. You've got to stay. If you have an opinion to share, we welcome it. Stay with us.
In March 2020, former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, was arraigned before an Accra High Court for a role he played in the Tiger IPL number 12 documentary that was premiered in June 2018. In April this year, we reported that he had been discharged by the Accra High Court. However, the state decided to go to a different court to have the case heard all over again. Yesterday, he was rearranged, and the case will go through the same processes as it began about 2 years ago. Also, we'll be talking about the Ghana Boxing Authority, who will be going to elective Congress next month. One person who is hopeful of succeeding Peter Zoenis as its president, Manley Spain, has donated to the Black Bombers team as they continue their preparations for the Tokyo Olympic Games. And also in the Euros, the Three Lions have defeated Germany and made it to the quarterfinal of the competition. Also, Ukraine were also part of the countries that have made it to the last 8 of that tournament. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullah, and this is AM Sports on the AM Show. Let's start with the story that has to do with number 12, the most running story since 2018. And former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, has been rearranged before the Accra High Court after he was discharged earlier this year. The former FIFA Council member and CAF First Vice President was discharged on March 11, 2021 by Justice Comfort Kosiawo Tasiame of the Criminal Court 4 of the Accra High Court after the Republic requested for more time to file a witness statement. The judge rejected the request of the public on the grounds that the case has been before the court for a year without a witness statement being filed, despite the consistent adjournment. She said the prosecution has a whole state apparatus behind her to file a statement without the continuous back and forth. Justice Comfort also added that justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. She continued that I think in these modern times there can be a way out for the prosecution who has a whole state apparatus behind her to file a witness statement without us going and coming. Part of the ruling suggested that the prosecution needs more time to have all pieces of evidence available for the case management to commence, and advised that they put their house in order and return when they are ready. She said, I think the prosecution may need a longer time to put their house in order. Justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. Justice is two-way traffic for prosecution and the accused as well. The responsible judge continued. And in the whole document that we'll be sharing with you recently, he's been talking about how the state decided to proceed to a different court, and I've asked that the case is heard all over again after the decision of the Accra High Court judge to discharge the accused persons. And now let's do some boxing now. And GBA presidential hopeful Manley Spain has donated to Ghana Black Bombers as they continue their preparations for the Tokyo Olympic Games. According to him, his decision to support them is to ensure that they have the best of participation in the Games later this year.
I think the reason why we are here, it's some weeks ago, I did at the Lebanon House. I assured my guys, my young brothers here, that I'm just going to support them a little. And today, actually, I'm ready for it. Since they're leaving tomorrow, I invited them here. I had also invited you to witness the fact. And also, we just wanted to assure them that this is just a token on behalf of me personally, Manley Spain, and then members of the GBA. We have something to present to them, some small cash, not as small, but medium-sized cash to support them once they leave. And then we wait. All that we needed to know or to hear, it's their victories right over there, bringing home the gold, and then we can actually assure them of what we feel it's right to be given to them, or the right stuff that will really due them. I'm ready to support them anyway, all the way. They need to get here back, and then we can believe that they're getting ready to be 10 professionals, and therefore we are also opening our arms. The GBA is opening their arms to receive them, and that's the reason why we are here today, or this evening. I'm very grateful to present this to deliver something little, and therefore this is precisely what I have done.
That is Manley Spain, a presidential hopeful for this year's Ghana Boxing Authority elections. But let's go back to our previous stories where we had promised to share with you a document from the Accra High Court that earlier this year discharged former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi. You would recall that in April we had spoken about how the court decided to discharge him because the Republic, headed by its legal team, Victoria Esedua, was struggling to secure a witness statement filed before the court. And the court said that instructions are that the matter is due for case management conference. However, there's one outstanding witness statement yet to be filed by the Republic. Efforts are being made to procure this witness to append his signature to the statement. In the circumstances that the Republic prayed that the matter be adjourned to 25th March 2021, by which time we are most certain that the said witness statement would have been filed, subject to the diary of the court we humbly submit. And this was the counsel for A1, which is Kwesi Nyantakyi, and they said that the issue of having to file one last witness statement in order for the case management conference to commence has been an excuse for the prosecution for far too long. As it is now, we have been held standstill all because a witness has refused to avail himself to sign his witness statement. That cannot be an excuse to keep us coming and going. So the court finally had to take a decision by the judge, Comfort Tasiame, as I mentioned earlier. She said that it's been 1 year since we set out to do case management conference, but due to the excuse by the learned counsel for the Republic that they have a witness statement to file, we kept adjourning this case till today. I think in these modern times, there can be a way out for the prosecution who has a whole state apparatus behind her to file a statement without us going and coming. I think prosecution may need longer time to put their house in order. Justice delayed, they say, is justice denied. Justice is a two-way traffic for prosecution and accused as well. As it stands now, I have no option than to discharge the accused persons, and the accused persons are Kwesi Nyantakyi and Abdullahi Alasan. This was on March 11, 2021. Any other time the prosecution is ready, they can do the needful. Accused persons are discharged, and as mentioned earlier, the state decided to go to a different court, which is the Criminal Court 2 of the Accra High Court, and yesterday, the processes that began in March 2020 continued. They were charged with the same charges that were slapped on them last year that said that they were charged for fraud and a conspiracy to commit fraud. They were also given a bail of 1 million Ghana cedis and 3 other sureties, which was the same thing that were slapped on them last year. On this note, we ask you to head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories, including this very story. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Thanks very much for your company.
Hello there. Well, as Ghana's economy re-emerges from the scourge of coronavirus, businesses are repositioning and re-strategizing their supply methods to meet the demand of a more health-conscious clientele. For our show on AM Business, we bring back a feature on one such business avenue called Native Bar, where a hybrid of service to foster healthy business links among entrepreneurs. Here's Charles Aitis' report.
Business is open at Native Bar, a Pan-African restaurant in the heart of Accra.
Finally, we got to meet.
Idubia Yusi is co-founder of this restaurant. For her, the coronavirus pandemic has been a cash cow.
Okay, before COVID, sales were okay. After COVID, you know, there were so many hiccups with the COVID, and so we had to, bring about some very innovative packages because now the focus was really on deliveries. Okay. So we looked at some of the gaps. The president said something about nutrition, and it falls into our brand. Yes. So what we did was that we packaged a lot of exciting things. People didn't want to go to the market. Native Bar would do family cuisine so that we deliver to you. We had discounts for corporates. You know, we had such exciting packages, leveraging on the nutritious meals that people have to eat so that they boost their immune system. So what happened was for us, post-COVID, like before COVID, we had about 20% delivery services.
Okay.
After COVID, we had about 80%.
Whoa, that's
So there was a
60%
positive for us with the COVID because we actually looked at all the needs that it brought about and we leveraged on it and put together packages.
That's
so
good.
yeah, you look at a disadvantage and turn it into an advantage.
Perfect. Data from the Statistical Service show that during the lockdown, about 244,000 firms adjusting their business models by relying more on digital solutions such as mobile money and internet for sales.
Let me show you around Native Bar. You know, it's not just a restaurant.
Okay.
You know, when you come here, there's so much activity. Like if you want to read, we have this.
So you have a miniature library as
Oh
well?
yeah, you know, so you can pick up any book, read it. So long as when you're going, you leave it. You know.
But what informed this decision?
Yeah, because we wanted to create something that people, serene environment, people can come and relax here, away from all the stress, you know. So you
What
pick
kind
up
of
a
books
book.
do we have?
Any
The
type.
family,
Family, you know, you have stories, you have entrepreneurship, you know, and all that. Then we have games. If you're a family, you come here, you have the Ludo, the Owari, and all these things. So you can just hang out here the whole day.
Away from home.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I know one thing that
absolutely.
caught my attention has been the arts.
It's the arts. This was so deliberate because we wanted at the same time to also showcase Ghanaian artwork, okay? And
These were made by Ghanaians.
These are made by Ghanaians. Excellent artwork. And we wanted to use our walls to showcase Ghanaian artwork. So every now and then you come to Native Bar, there's a new artist we are featuring, you know, so this artist...
Oh, so you do change the...
Oh yeah, we do. It's deliberate, you know, and it's for sale, okay? Yeah, so sometimes, you know, when you're eating your very healthy meals, you know, it's going down, digesting very well because the ambiance is very lovely, catches your attention, you want to buy. We have, you know, Caucasians come in here, you know, tourists, and they want to buy it. They bought, you know, quite a number, okay?
But what are your interpretations of these?
Actually, I have an artist background. I did O-level arts.
Oh,
you know, so I have an artist background. And one of the things that really struck me about his artwork is that he's depicting African women in a very beautiful way.
I see that.
Most of the time, what sometimes I don't really like is the fact that, you know, you have all these carvings and the women don't look too beautiful. But this is so beautiful. I mean, it's like different ways in which African women, you know, beautiful African women, and that's
So that's a woman with
this is a woman with an afro hair.
Yes, typical of the African woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I also see the elephant.
Yeah.
You know, this is also somewhat political in its stand.
Don't go there.
But also artistic in its nature.
Yeah. You can see the might. I think I interpret this in so many ways, as in, you know, the might of an elephant and the aspects of every aspect of the body parts of an elephant is useful.
Speaking of art, we have this gentleman.
Yeah, so this beautiful artwork that we were talking about, this is the person who did it. This is the artist. His name is Eric Otu.
Eric, great job.
Yeah, Eric.
Let's sit with him and see what he has to say.
All right.
So you just sit next to him.
All right.
He's the one who's made your place so beautiful and so colorful. Eric, nice to be on the show. And so you do all these things yourself?
Yeah, I do all these things.
For how long have you been into the arts industry?
Actually, I started for 2012 when I started. It was a bit rough. So I was doing, but then I was doing shoemaking and barbering. To get the colors, because the colors is not, it's a bit expensive. So when I realized that no, then I have to give myself to the art, because I wasn't able to focus on it and it was not coming out, the beauty was not coming out. So I dropped the shoemaking and embroidering and I focus on it full time. So now I'm a full-time painter.
So you had no educational training in this? this is pure talent?
Yeah, I have it. Actually, I'm a talented. It's a raw gift, but I passed through a system. I attended the Ghanata College of Art and Design.
So you're not just serving people meals, but you're also connecting creative minds like that of Eric to the potential of business.
And actually, when we started, we wanted to have different groups of entrepreneurs meet here. This should be the hub where you meet and you talk about your innovative ideas and all that. So the artist thing is just an angle of it, but most people come here and have their meetings, and throughout the whole day they eat, then they have their meetings.
So how do you share the sales?
Okay, so the thing is, because we want to promote them, elsewhere when they do an exhibition, they really charge them, but on our walls, we just take a small percentage. I'll tell you after the show.
It isn't all about the profits.
Our pack is eco-friendly.
Edubia also demonstrated the eco-friendly materials, Ghana made by the way, she has employed for packaging.
Sick, but this is eco-friendly. So we can even put soups in here, nothing happens. So it's specially made like that. So that's our uniqueness.
So these things are made in Ghana?
Yeah, now we used to buy them in Dubai.
Okay.
But now there are suppliers, who make them. So then, a sandwich pack, and then if we serve you with smoothies or anything, we put it in this. So we have a green philosophy. And then we have solar panels here. So so it's hybrid, ECG and this thing. So we are really environmentally friendly and want to push that.
I come here not just because of the food that I have to eat, but if I am in town and I'm looking to meet up with any guests, this is my go-to place. Networking is made easy here because it's right in the center of town. It's easily accessible to quite a number of places, and so it's quite easy to find as well. And the ambience in terms of getting to know people, getting to meet people, this is a hub that actually promotes entrepreneurial networking. This is also the hub for you to find, I would say, the right customer for your product or your service. Someone eating here could be the CEO of another entrepreneurial business. Someone here could also be the friend to a friend whom you've been trying to network with. So this really is the opportunity for all entrepreneurs to actually come and have a hub. Like I said, I'm actually meeting a guest here.
Over 131,000 businesses, mostly SMEs, expressed uncertainty in the business environment. In fact, the average decrease in sales, according to the World Bank findings, was estimated at 115.2 million Ghana cedis, with firms in the hospitality sector largely affected. To bounce back, Edubia calls for entrepreneurs to explore niche markets and products.
So I'm very passionate about businesses that are run well, because most of the time the perception about Africans is that you start something, it's nice.
Exactly.
After some time, the thing becomes so mediocre. We have to be consistent, okay? So that is some of the things that, for me, I would advise a lot of entrepreneurs, that you start something. You have to do it with everything. You have to ensure that it's up to perfection, because you are meeting a need for a client or a customer. So it's not a wishy-washy thing. You have to put your all in it and bring out the best, so that's my advice.
And how come most of the module business plans, end-to-end business plans that appeal to the current moment? Because we've spoken to you, we've seen the massive things you're doing. It is a restaurant, yes, but the interconnectivity, the business interlinks within this space speaks much about the need for innovative business ideas amid a pandemic. So what kind of advice do you have for SMEs coming up who've experienced their fair share of COVID-19 and would want to restructure to fit into the demands of the times?
Okay, I would say that, this generation, I believe that businesses, there should be some sort of renaissance in businesses. And businesses should not be, somebody is doing this, I'm doing the same thing, you know. So you just find a problem that there's so many problems around that you want to meet a need. Because one thing about businesses is that if your passion, if your heart is not in it, when the challenges come, you just run away. So you have to find a problem that, you know, you can solve. And then find ways, different ways of, the reason why you go and look at your competitors is to find where are the gaps? What can I do differently, okay, to meet a certain need? And you put your all in it and raise the bar all the time. And excellence sells itself.
To lessen the impact of COVID-19, co-founder of Native Bar wants SMEs to be buoyant, innovative, and have a hold of current market demands. This, she says, is how to stay in business amid a global health crisis.
A total of 100 million Ghana cedis has been attributed to the survival and recovery of several businesses in Ghana under the Ghana Cares program. But for enterprises like that of Native Bar, being innovative and much more abreast with the demands of the time is all that SMEs need in this era of COVID-19. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
To that all-important matter when it comes to happenings in Adra in recent times, the tension, the security situation. And joining the conversation, we have Professor Kwesi Enning. He's a security analyst, and he is with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. Hopefully later we shall also have security analyst Emmanuel Bombandi join the conversation. But a very good morning to you, Professor Enning. Thank you so much for your time. Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but your voice is a little low.
Okay, let me try this. Is it better now? Is it?
Yes, better, yeah.
Great, great. Thank you once more for making the time. So what is your initial reaction, your commencing thoughts on the happenings so far when it comes to the death of Ibrahim Mohammed alias Kaka, and now what we know as transpired yesterday with this onslaught? What is your initial reaction?
Well, of course, I think that lives have been lost. Right? I'm not taken aback, and this will not be the last time. I think last week you and I had a conversation when I was kind of the policy of intelligence gathering. And
Prof, the connection seems just a little.
Yeah. Okay, is it better?
It is better.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that this is not going to be the last time? Can you just re-echo what you said?
It certainly is not going to be the last. I mean, I think last week when we spoke, I made the same statement that in terms of the quality of the intelligence that had suddenly resulted in 225 people being rounded up with respect to the police officer who had been murdered and the other lady, I thought that was bad intelligence and poor analysis. So I thought violence, societal violence would continue. So yes, it's unfortunate we are losing lives, but it doesn't come as a surprise to me, and it will not end because we are looking at these things in a totally wrong way.
You say we are looking at it in a totally wrong way.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that exactly?
Well, if we take the Adria case, after Kaka died, there was a desperate cry from the community for empathy, for understanding, for somebody to send a signal that, look, we care about your suffering, we've heard you, and we want to do something about it. About 10 days ago, you and I had another conversation in which we were told that there was no insecurity in the country. I think the police spokesperson waxed lyrical about how there shouldn't be any usage of the word insecurity. And I had argued strongly that the first step of understanding the social tensions and the pulls and the strains is to listen to the language of the people that we serve. So once more in Edria, when people called for understanding, for a listening ear, for somebody to say, yes, we care. The police did not show that leadership. The officer from the National Intelligence Bureau, I don't know the quality of the analysis and the report he sent to his or to her superiors, but we failed to capture the moment of frustration, of anger, of a sense of exclusion and denial of protection. And it is that failure that led to an assessment of the situation that was totally wrong and created an idea or a perception that there was a raging mob, armed, and who needed to be faced not by the police, but by the military. Let me try to explain.
So even as you explain, Prof, so was that a wrong move in the first place, getting the military involved, even as you expatiate further?
A move that ought not to have taken place at that stage. The military only comes in when the sanctity of a community or a state is at stake. The police have been overwhelmed and their forces incapable of responding. Then you bring the military in with one purpose: to defeat the enemy and to establish control. Now, Kujo, there are multiple levels of failures from the side of the Ghana Police Service. This morning, I think on your news report, I heard they had brought in reinforcements. Reinforcements to do what? When there is calm? If they had listened to the voices of the people when Kaka died, and they had brought in reinforcements backed by the formed police unit, then they could have stood aside because they are trained to control crowds and then to control demonstrations. The police are trained to do that. And they have graduated force. Normally they use of water cannon and tear gas and hardly ever use guns for the control of crowds. So somewhere, somehow, whoever took the decision either did not understand how to take those decisions, that there was a deliberate, manipulative attempt to provide assessment that did not speak to the actual situation on the ground. And that has led to this unfortunate situation that the international media has picked up, and it's causing us supreme reputational damage.
Supreme reputational damage, you say. Just before we continue, just to, this is Benjamin you're speaking to, actually. I know because you've been shuttling between radio and television, sometimes it gets confusing, but this is Benjamin.
And as an old man, you know, sometimes one gets a bit confused.
I understand. I understand. But so that means we got it completely wrong. But what would you say then? Today you're talking about, you know, more officers pouring in and all of that, reinforcement and all of that. How do you feel in the immediate term we can be easing the tension in Edra and even some of what we are seeing spill over in other parts of the country where people are pouring their emotions on social media and all of that? In the interim, even before we go to the core issues, the narrative, what happened yesterday, what do you think we ought to be looking at?
Well, I think it would be good in any other jurisdiction a couple of ministers responsible for what happened yesterday would have been on the ground to say, we sympathize with you. This ought not to have happened. Please, let's dialogue. Let's bring this to an end. What are the problems? What are your needs? How do you think we can stretch out a hand in an empathetic manner? Because we are all Ghanaians. We are all benefiting from the peace. Today must not end without some delegation of sorts going to Nigeria to sympathize.
There must be a deliberative effort. Now, it's interesting, since you're talking about leadership, and you can see, for those watching on television, you can even see some of the scenes there, one of those who had been hit, supposedly being carried away. But the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry, has come out to say that, look, when this Fix the Country thing started, because we didn't want protesters to hit the streets and demonstrate, we offered an opportunity for the leaders to come and engage top guns in government. The meeting was inconclusive. They said that the leadership of the Fix the Country group said that they had to consult members before they could come back. And he also, says, on the back of what happened yesterday, and I'm quoting him here, Professor Edding, he says, we want to know who did the beating. We want to know who attacked the person. What is this thing about the government? Is it the MPP? And you can add, who killed him? So from that standpoint, looking at this deliberation that you're speaking of, do you feel that is honestly going to happen? I mean, and if it doesn't, what could be the repercussions?
Well, look, it must happen. I mean, I also heard the minister yesterday say, look, that those who perpetrated the initial murder, the beatings and the subsequent murder or death were criminals, and that he was desperate and interested in getting those criminals arrested, because otherwise they could attack him the next time. And I took a bit of solace in that personalization of the crime and his fear of what can happen. And I'm hoping that it will be followed up by a delegation going to Nigeria and having a conversation. Because, you see, when people feel desperate, when they feel let down, when they are frightened, they want their leaders to show empathy. They want to get a sense that we've not been left alone. So it's good optics and good operational intervention for people to go there and have this conversation.
We shall
a
get
refusal to do that will lead to a sense of being abandoned, and that abandonment, that lacuna that arises from feeling that, oh, the state does not truly care about my head and my insecurity, that lacuna can be filled. I think in the last couple of weeks, we've heard about a possible infiltration into this country by terrorists from our neighboring states.
Right.
You know, so it's important that we don't get people's sense of abandonment to be capitalized upon. And those who are creating havoc around our neighboring states, you know, thrive on such circumstances, coming with a discourse and a narrative that is dialogic, that is consensual, that seeks to opportunistically exploit people's heads. So please, if people have not thought about it, let me use this medium to appeal that a delegation goes at least to sympathize and to show empathy. That makes people feel that, look, we are part of a whole, that somebody somewhere does care. I think the alternative is frightening to contemplate.
The alternative is frightening to contemplate. I've heard you say that what happened in Nigeria is only a symbolic representation of the frustration across this country. Does that mean that we are at the tipping point, some boiling point when it comes to what is happening? People wanting to vent, give vent to their frustrations and not being allowed to do so, so to speak. Are we at tipping point?
Tipping points are difficult to pinpoint. What is it that would make people flip over? In Nigeria, it was, a Kake's case. But it's important that, and herein comes my point about the quality of intelligence gathering and analysis, that the NIB and its officials at the rural and urban areas must now begin to listen, begin to join the dots of seemingly innocuous statements, activities, of gatherings that on the surface may not be problematic. Okay? But when we join the dots and through network analysis and evaluation, can then begin to see patterns emerging. And I think it's not difficult at all, although people are gallivanting, promising courses on intelligence where they don't know anything about intelligence. It's just become a business, So let's not deceive ourselves into thinking, well, Nigeria is calm, and therefore the structural conditions that have contributed to Nigeria cannot be found elsewhere. But then, we also need to go back to the drawing table and ask ourselves how the decisions were made leading to what happened yesterday. You see, in conflict resolution, when people are upset and have identified an individual who has authority or power as being a part of the problem, then that same person cannot be part of the solution because there isn't enough trust. So if the MC who had been allegedly accused of being part of the problem also chairs the MUSEC or the MISEC, that is the Metropolitan Security Council meeting, and makes decisions about the deployment of troops, then that is improper.
So what is your proposal? With immediate effect, that ought to be reversed?
Well, the decision has been made, and we've seen the unfortunate outcomes. But I think now Accra would need to provide some directions on the regional minister.
Yes, I was speaking in respect of the MCE, that henceforth that should be curtailed, even as those powers as far as the security apparatus is concerned.
Well, if you have the deputy, then the deputy will have to take over with guidance from the regional minister. That will begin the process of healing, and that will begin the process of reconciliation.
Were you about to say something, Prof?
No.
Okay. What the youth did, let's analyze that. Some have called it criminal. Some have said it warrants the actions. And others have said these were just young people venting, giving vent to their emotions, their frustrations. So let's take a look at them. At a point, they were burning tires. At some point, we are told that some were wielding clubs or sticks, some threw stones, and even some, per a police report, supposedly were wielding firearms, supposedly. Would that justify, you've already gone back to the military getting involved, but would that justify what happened?
No. When people demonstrate and they demonstrated use offensive weapons, the only thing that the uniformed forces can do is to use appropriate and corresponding force. But precisely because they are better trained and have a better assessment of the situation, then one does not expect them to use disproportionate force leading to the loss of life. But let me say this. I am quite happy with the manner in which there's been bipartisan criticism of the occurrences by Parliament. I think this is one of the finest moments for Parliament, and I'm hoping that the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior also will send a delegation to go and have this conversation, and also to listen firsthand to what took place and how the decisions were made. But under no circumstances is it justifiable that lives ought to have been lost in such a situation.
The police establishment, and we all know it's part of the executive arm of government. The security apparatus is part of government. Looking at some of these pockets of actions, do you feel they are unnecessarily courting the displeasure of the people against this administration? Looking at all of these happenings, what is your take?
Well, I think a professional performance of their duties actually benefits any government. It's when services are provided in an ineffective or ineffectual manner that, of course, citizens turn their frustration over and above the first respondent. So, in this particular case, and I'm targeting the police and then the intelligence people who were on the ground, they failed their respective ministers and by extension created an unnecessary anger against political authority. You see, because if the police and NIB officers on the ground had captured the situation properly, given options for response, I doubt very much if Accra's response would have been to say, send these soldiers, let them take firing positions and shoot people in the back. That would never have happened. So somewhere, somehow, those on the ground that the state has entrusted power into their hands to protect people and by extension the state's interest failed. And in this particular case, it's the police service and the intelligence officer who's on the ground.
Two issues right before we wrap this conversation. The first one has to do with Albert Kandapa, National Security Minister, who has been saying that there is too much political intolerance. And if I may just cite some of what he says, he's expressing worry over that intolerance. And he is saying that if the canker is not nipped in the bud, it could plunge the country into chaos in future. Well, he was saying it from a certain standpoint. But here we are looking at some of these pockets, these incidents that keep happening, and especially in Edra, what we're seeing there. What do you forecast? I mean, could this be the trigger on the back of Fix the Country, on the back of the Economic Fighters League? We hear Kaka, as his alias was a member of the Economic Fighters League. Could this be the trigger for other spillover events in other parts of the country? And what do we do to forestall those?
Well, you've mentioned the minister's name. I think if there's any one person who will be agonizing over Edra, it will be Mr. Kandapa. And why do I say so? You know, when the National Security Strategy document was presented, the argument was that the document is predicated on two critical things: respect for human rights and the rule of law. The behavior of Azugu and what has happened yesterday and elsewhere shows that the minister's grand vision and dream, his optimistic dream of a service and the delivery of that service that respects citizens' human rights and predicated on the rule of law is going to take a long time to achieve. Because those who should implement that strategy themselves don't seem to share the values and the principles and underpinning the national security strategy document. Now, our own leaders, our political leaders, do accept that issues of unemployment, the youth bulge leading to limited law enforcement create a toxic mix, a toxic brew, in which frustrations, a sense of exclusion and isolationism, and a desperation to be part of Ghana's success story can easily be turned into what we have seen in Nigeria. And Nigeria is only symptomatic of a broader, bigger challenge. So we need quick, proactive responses. First, that sends a signal of care, that we have a duty of care, that what has happened is unfortunate. Those who made the decisions that led to the loss of lives will be sanctioned, and the sanctioning will be made public. But we will also probe why this mistake took place, and we will learn lessons from it. If lessons are not learned, and people do not comply with the lessons, I'm afraid the groundswell of anger, frustration, we saw demonstrated in Nigeria, and that boldness to attack armored vehicles, I mean the vehicle with the water cannon, that daringness and the need for the police to escape will escalate. And then I'm talking about the need for stretching out our hand to calm things, because the signal of unarmed people, kids, youth, chasing an armored water cannon vehicle, and that vehicle having to escape, I can imagine that it tells people or sends a message that the apparent invincibility has been broken. It can't be broken. And we need to reverse that and reverse it quickly.
It's been insightful.
We need to come together as one and to feel that we are part of a progressive Ghana that respects human rights and that respects the rule of law.
I was going to wade into your final, thoughts about what to do moving forward, but you've already expressed that in these thoughts that you've shared. So that probe, engaging those affected, the people of Idra, especially the affected families, and more, and of course, learning the lessons, like you have said. Thank you so much, Professor Enning, for giving us your time.
Thank you very much, and sorry for giving you yet another name. Maybe your middle name is Kojo. So.
That is fine. Thank you so much, Prof, for engaging us. And that is Professor Enning, Kwesi Enning, who is with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center and also a security analyst. A lot of food for thought that he's given us this morning. But moving on from there, we're going to be discoursing on soccer, the Ghana Football Awards that we're going to have some thoughts shared on. It's coming off, but what are we to expect? That is up next on the AM show. Do stay.
Let's talk Ghana Football Awards now. It's just happening this weekend, 3rd of July. Said Wadam says, Ghana Football Awards Committee member. He's here to tell us about this year's award. This is the third time that you're organizing this event.
Yeah.
Remind us again of last year's event.
Okay, so last year, because of COVID, there was no event. But 2 years ago, we had a marvelous event where we had Felix Annan of Asante Kotoko winning, picking the award for...
No wonder I don't remember.
But we also had Thomas Partey picking the Best Player of the Year award, and we had other individual awards like the Coach of the Year, and we had the Female Player of the Year, and so on and so forth. But the standout was Felix Annan. We also had, like I said earlier on, we had Thomas Partey. He was then at Atletico Madrid, so he.
So before the Arsenal signing.
Before the Arsenal signing, so I think. That's because basically it. But we also had some great personalities passing through, and that is the standout of the night, where you get to meet all the top football gurus, top entertainment gurus passing through. And I think for me, the red carpet is usually the best of the night, because you get to stay at the corner, meet all the top people you would have wanted to meet in a night, and so. It has always been my best at the Ghana Football Awards.
Great, but tell us about the whole Ghana Football Awards concept. What was the motivation? Why the awards?
So the motivation is two. One, to encourage and reward hard working. Two, to introduce new categories every year in terms of getting people to develop. For instance, this year we introduced the most vibrant social media club on social media.
Okay.
And also introduce the best CEO. So the best CEO goes with the club licensing regulation. You know, the Ghana Football Association is introducing the club licensing to get clubs to get to the best that they can in terms of management, in terms of administration, in terms of their legal, in terms of finance, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of sporting criteria and sporting. So we pick each of the 5 categories in the club licensing and award. If you were at the Ghana Football Awards Forum last Thursday, one of the things that Kwame Banu spoke about was awarding and not sanctioning. You know, most of the laws in the Ghana FA seem to sanction clubs, personalities for not doing one thing or the other, but it does not reward for doing one thing or the other. So for us at the Ghana Football Awards, we reward for doing one thing or the other. So, for instance, we chose the best CEO. We look at which of the clubs has brought a CEO who is dynamic, who is brought into football something unique that has not been seen. So if you look at the 3 shortlisted, for instance,
I've seen the Kotoko.
You take the Kotoko CEO, you take the Eloy Amandi of Karela, and also Gifty Owaria Boaji. She, for instance, if I was voting, maybe I would be biased.
You vote for her?
If I was voting.
Okay.
Because female football in Ghana has been more or less put in a corner. But she brought some innovation into female football.
Okay.
She brought what I like most, feminism, into female football. This is a team that does makeups, goes into photo shooting session before their games. And so she brought something exciting, something unique.
Okay.
And so it's worth rewarding.
Okay, I would.
Exactly.
If I was a person with votes,
exactly.
I would have voted for Lawyer Monday, for Karela.
Yes.
Because of the great
He's also brought something unique because this was a Karela side that just a year ago were at the total bottom of the Ghana Premier League. They have struggled to even win a match. They have struggled to pay players' salaries. They have struggled to put players together. And in fact, there was a period where you had more than 10 of their players leaving for Kumasi Sangro and House of Hope. And so if he could turn things around within a year, I guess it's worth celebrating. It's worth rewarding. So he comes in there. Nana Amponsa, I need not talk much about what he's also brought to Kumasi Asante Kotoko. And so we want to reward. When I mentioned Nana Amponsa,
I get you. Oh,
yes.
Excuse me?
When I mentioned Nana Amponsa, you smiled a lot.
Oh, it's a good thing that I am smiling, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
I see that you also have Coach of the Year.
Yes.
You have, so how many categories have you added this year?
So we added the most vibrant club on social media. We added the CEO of the year. Then we added the African International, because Ghana Football Awards seeks to go international. So if you look in there, you see the African International. Also introduced the Neo Odate Lamte Future Star Award.
Okay, what is that about?
So the Neo Odate Lamte Future Star Award is to award young footballers who have the potential to get to the big stage. You know, Odate Lamte got his first professional contract at age 15 when he played for, when he signed for Anderlecht after excelling in 1991's FIFA World Cup in Italy. So we take inspiration from how he burst up at that early age. So, and also, that award is in two folds. Rewarding Odate Lamte for his exploits and also rewarding future stars to look up to him. Yes, so that's the concept of the future, Odate Lamte Future Star Award.
It's interesting. I'm looking at the most vibrant club on social media.
Yes.
What are they expected to, what are you looking out for in that category?
Okay, so as part of the club licensing, there is a communication bit that seeks to get clubs to let the public know what they do.
Okay.
And so we look at the advent of social media, and we want to see how clubs are utilizing it.
On top of my head, I'll say Legon cities.
Oh, and not us, not only.
No, because
but have you seen the
I have. It's a very tall list.
Yeah.
I said Legon cities on top of my head because I remember a lot of things associated with them off the pitch.
Yeah.
In terms of either musicians coming to perform or that kind of thing. So they've been vibrant in that sense.
You are right.
I am
Olympics,
not so biased. I'm a very objective person.
No, I get it. Olympics have in fact, this is going to be very, very tough. Because if you look at the category, you see that there are two female teams in there.
The Berry Ladies
and
Rich City.
Rich City.
Okay.
Rich City is a lower tier club. But if you look at the loads of information they put up there, you look at the videos they put up there, it's a daily conversation. They put up conversations about women football, how to develop it, how to get it at par with. And so I was not surprised that the board added them to the top list because in fact it was about 10 or 12 lists that we put up as a committee. And so for the board to even choose them as part of the top 7 means that they have done something great.
Okay.
And you look at Dreams FC, they also introduced lots of innovation into player signings and so on and so forth. House of Folk has been there in terms of their numbers, in terms of how they have competed. And in fact, let's acknowledge that House and Kotoko have really given themselves a tough competition on social media, but people do not seem to see it because they have outnumbered each other on quite several times. I mean, House of Folk comes on top, Kotoko comes, and now House of Folk seem to be doing wonderfully well on Instagram. And that is where I would also use this opportunity to ask clubs to venture into. Instagram is so super. Interlice comes in there. They're the first Ghanaian football club to get verified by Twitter. And so you get...
Oh, that's a big achievement.
So Interlice has support Kotoko Great Olympics.
Nice.
But Great Olympics, they are known for all the off-field excitement in football.
You're telling us. Okay. Who will be there on the 3rd of July?
So I'll start with yourself. You'll be there. I'll be there.
Oh.
The FA president will be there. All the top football gurus will be there. So from the president of the Ghana Football Association to the executive committee, we're also looking at past ESCO members to also pass through. We are looking at CEOs of clubs like Abdulhi Yati of Cheetah FC. We expect him to be there. We're also going to have top media executives like George Addo Jr., Gary Al Smith, Kojumen Samoshushu, and our colleagues in Kumasi. But the dope of the night will be some great musicians that we've outlined to pass through. And there will be exciting performance as well.
Okay, nice. Can our viewers also come in? Or this is strictly by invitation?
It's strictly by invitation. Remember, we are observing COVID protocols. And so we must ensure that we account for every individual that comes there.
Absolutely.
And so it is strictly by invitation.
But they will get to see it?
Yes. It's live on Joy Prime. And yes, live on Joy Prime.
Okay, what time?
7 p.m. sharp. So one thing that is unique with Ghana Football Awards is time. 7, we go live.
I would have been surprised if you're not, because it's football time.
Yes. Football time. Kickoff is kickoff.
Yeah.
There are no excuses for delays.
Nice.
So 7 p.m. we go on air.
Okay.
So
we're wrapping up. Any acknowledgements?
Yes, I want to acknowledge our sponsors. They have been a greater part of this success story, and so GMPC is one of our sponsors. They've done so much well to, support and sponsor this event. Car Bank has also helped us a lot in terms of offering most of the operational staff that we need and supporting the event. Betway is a great sponsor of this event, and also Land Rover has helped in pushing this event. We want to get much more better than we have done in the last 2 years and even this year.
Well, we'll be rooting for you. Thank you very much.
Yes, so we'll be expecting to see yourself.
What should I wear? Hats? What's the dress code?
It's formal and traditional. So you can come in a traditional hat attire.
Phobia! Thank you very much. Stay with us. We have musician Neo Kai in the studio right after this with IB.